Hey Phil, how are you going?
Good. Hey, how are you? Not bad at all. Hello,
Good,
you too.
good.
Welcome to my
No,
little humble home here in Bundaberg on a warm night. You can see, traditional Queensland weather.
mate, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. I'm sure you could be sat in an ice bath or doing something a lot more enjoyable than
Yeah,
chatting
yeah.
to us.
I just had a cool shower just before we came on, but didn't help much. I'm sure Mr. Buckarini Bucker know all about that. It's hot
Yeah,
weather in
I,
Queensland.
I'm guessing
Mm,
he was down in Brisbane at the weekend, so I'm guessing he's back up home now.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
cool. So mate, when I look at your YouTube channel, in the last year, you've managed to put out around about 125, 126 videos. So even by my basic maths, that's about two a week. That's a
Yeah,
huge effort.
yeah. Yeah, no, that's cool. Actually, most of them is probably in the last 6 months or so, last 7, 8 months. Yeah, I mean, my channel, probably a lot of people don't realize I started my YouTube channel back in 2008. So it's been going for a while, but I've never ever taken it seriously until about 6, 7 months or so. So, I mean, when I started back then, there was just a few odd videos of my radio control helicopters. So that used to be one of my hobbies. And in fact, I've still got a couple now. They're just sitting up there. The one's about nearly 1.5 meters long, but I hardly ever fly it now. And I've got another one that's about 2 feet long. So yeah, it's a nice little hobby. So I've been in that for a while, and if you go back to 2008, you'll probably see the odd videos of the helicopters flying in my backyard, and I've still got the same ones back from then, and they're still going. Touch wood, I've never crashed them. It's just freaky.
So,
I've never crashed one, so I don't know why. It's just pure luck, I suppose. It's not
so
like
what?
these. It's not like these drones you get nowadays, where basically the satellite flies them. This thing here is like a real helicopter, and it works the same physics as a helicopter. And so you've got, your ailerons and so on, your left and right tilt and so on. So it's just constant control. You've got no screen on the to look at. You've got to look at the helicopter whole. And one of them is a stunt helicopter. So you should go back and check. I think I got a video there showing doing some stunts on it, inverted flights and so on. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then that sort of eased off a bit. And then I got into radio controlled cars, and then the channel kind of went in there. And then after that, I kind of lost interest a bit in there. And then I've still got those radio controlled buggies that sit in the shed. And then it's gone to magic. I used to delve into a bit of magic of all things. So that's another thing.
Really?
If you look back, there's a bit of magic on there too. And I still got a lot of the props and so on. And in fact, I'm actually an admin for a couple of the magic channels. So I know quite a few of the famous guys that do the magicians. I'm running their Facebook group pages, and it's a secret group. So no one really knows about it because we share secrets, what's done and so on.
Yeah.
So there's something there what a lot of people don't know about. So it's a bit
That's
of
an
a
exclusive. That's a interview exclusive there. I think who certainly didn't know about that. So,
yeah.
so what was the transition into sort of 4x4, four wheeling, overlanding, camping? Where did that come? I mean,
Well,
obviously it's been a hobby all your life, but
it's
when did you
always
start
been
doing
a
it?
hobby. Yeah, it's always been a hobby in my life ever since I was a kid. When I was brought up on the farm, we always went camping all the time. Always. I remember when I started off, I used to go to Kmart and used to buy like a $20, $30 A-frame tents. Like the 3-man A-frame tents, and they were absolutely useless. It got to the end, as soon as there's a bit of wind or rain, and then just you're soaking wet, or the tent flies away. And it's even happened in Fraser Island quite a number of times back those days. And then it was the days, a lot of people had big canvas tents as well. You set up those big canvas tents, and then you'd be sitting there, and it'll take like, half a day to set up camp, but we thought that was just normal. That was just part of camping. That's what it was like back then. You know, today we're really spoilt today with the choices of what we got that we can use today, and it's a lot easier, and it's come at a good time too, because I'm not as young as I was back then, and my back's not the best anymore. So for me nowadays, camping is not about going somewhere and spending long time setting up camp, which I think is most people like that now. Me, camping is about, I like to enjoy the drive to go somewhere, particularly somewhere new, get to that location, then enjoy the area, you know, sit around with some mates and friends and have a chat and, you know, have a drink at night and so on, and share cooking meals and so on. Or sometimes I go a lot alone too. I go camping on my own too. I do that a lot, and I like my own time, and I like to go somewhere that's remote and there's no one around, and just ease back and just sit down and read a book. Something I love reading, so I like reading a book and that. So yeah, I do that sometimes as well. So yeah, I mean, and the back's not what it used to be anymore. So all this new gear that's coming now is, in fact, there's some changes coming on my camping setup that's even going to make it easier for me to set up, and it'll be a lot quicker to set up as well. It'll probably be even quicker. I'll probably be able to set up camp quicker than what someone would be able to set up a caravan. By the time they unhook the caravan, I should be able to be set up a camp with some of the new gear that I'm actually going down and picking up next week. So we'll probably talk about that.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that in a bit. I just you mentioned Fraser Island, and I know that you've been camping there for what, close to 40 years, right? Since you were a young lad, and
yep,
I guess you've seen a lot of changes on Fraser over the years, and it's still one of Australia's really iconic places to go. You know, I've only lived in Australia for like 4.5, 5 years myself, so I've not had the chance yet to get up to Queensland. I do most of my camping in New South Wales, but Fraser, you know, is on the list for so many of us.
Yep.
Tell us about the changes you've seen, and you know, from where it was then to how it is now.
All right. Well, for a start, it used to be run by the Forestry Department back then days, and a lot of tracks. It was back those days that a lot of tracks weren't marked. But I was lucky, and I managed to have got my hands on some of the forestry maps, which I still have. And if you had a look at them now, and then look at the maps that you get now, just how many tracks are actually being closed. So that's one big change there. And back then, I mean, we used to even carry a chainsaw with us as well. Like, you wouldn't even think of doing that over there now. There's no way you'd bring a chainsaw over there, really. I don't anymore. And it actually, you did a favour for the forestry department. If you had a storm come through, you drive through and you just clear the track. You know, you cut the timber and then you clear that out the side. And they used to thank you for it. And I mean, that's a change back then. Dingoes used to be, I don't know, dingoes, well, there was a lot more around back then. Probably depend where you go. Dingoes used to be classed as a pet. I knew a lot of the rangers over there, and they even had names for the dingoes back then days, and some of the forestry departments as well. And I remember there was times where, particularly Central Station, I'd be camping at Central Station, and I'd get my chair, and I'll put my chair out, and I'll sit down. And you'll get a dingo walk up to you, and I'll sit under your chair and fall asleep at your feet. You practically sit there patting it. They're like a dog. And in fact, on the farm, it's amazing, the dingoes, they are so loyal, because we had dingoes, because I've been brought up on the farm. Most of my life I've been on the farm. And we used to have dingoes out in the farm. And we actually had a pet dingo. for some reason the mother died or something. I don't know what happened, and some neighbours bought this little pup dingo. So we took care of it, and that thing was one of the best dogs I have ever owned, because it guarded me for its life. It was amazing, because milkmen, back those days, you used to get the milkmen, and they'd come and drop the milk off in the glass bottles. It got to the stage where no one could get near our place. I had to tie this dog up because it was real. I've seen how aggressive they can get, and yet I've seen how protective they are as well. And that thing was very protective. We used to play as rough as we'd roll around in the dirt, and was basically knocking each other over. And that thing would never ever scratch me or do anything. But as soon as there's a stranger that doesn't know, some of my mates have been after a while, it gets to know them and it was fine. But any stranger, and it was great. I loved it because we never had any burglars. Anyone never came near our farm. So, I mean, that was a long time ago too, I'm talking, guys. You could never, it's not allowed now. I don't think it's even legal. You cannot own a dingo now. They're a protected species. So as far as I know, you're not allowed to. You've got to have a license to own them now. Well, you can't even own them, but if you're caring for them, you do. So, yeah.
So are they more aggressive now? Is that what you're sort of saying nowadays?
More aggressive now.
Or more scavengers? Or what are they like over on the island now?
I've never had a problem with them. Of all the years that I've gone on Fraser Island, I've never had an issue with the dingoes. And I put that down to a lot of the places that I go to. Because I don't tend to go to the populated areas when I go to Fraser. I've done a lot of backpacking over the years too. Up until about 6-7 years ago, I'd get an ultra lightweight backpack and I'd jump on a plane, or I'd jump in my car and then store the car somewhere at a storage place in Harvey Bay, take the boat over and just walk the island for like 10 days. And I'd do that at times right up the centre of the island for 10 days without seeing a soul. Just carrying everything, all the food that I need. The water wasn't an issue, and I never did that in wintertime. The water wasn't an issue because there's so much water over there, so I just carried the various different types of filters and just filtered the water. And I used to dehydrate a lot of my own food. And I used to also buy dehydrated food. There's a really good one. There's a good company. Not that stuff you buy at BCF and stuff that you get from the States because it tastes like horrid. Just because when you go camping,
cardboard.
You don't want to eat shit food. You want to eat good stuff. Especially, you've seen some of my cooking videos when I go camping, and I want to eat good stuff. So there is actually a company in Tasmania called Strive, STRIVE, that makes really good dehydrated food. So any of you backpackers and that out there, go check them out, and they're still going to this day, and they're very popular now. So I used to use a fair bit of them as well, and I've got my own dehydrators too, which I still have. So I'd have rice or pasta and so on. I used to even bake. I used to bake cakes and muffins and that as well. I had these ultra light. In fact, just in that cupboard there behind me is a lot of my ultra lightweight cooking gear that I used to use back then, using like metho stoves and so on. So basically, you got a little stove for a tiny fire. You got a little container and then another smaller container about 1 centimetre smaller inside, so it heats up the outside. You put your cake mix inside that one, put a lid on it. 40 minutes later, it's cooked. And back those days, you used to be able to just go to Aldi and that. And you used to be able to buy cake mixes, packet mixes, scone mixes, where all you got to do is just mix a bit of water in it. You didn't have to put milk. You didn't have to put butter with it. Nowadays, everything you buy now is just so much stuff you got to put in it now. But back then, you just bought these packet mixes that add water, mix it up, put it in the thing, cook it, and you got a cooked meal. I still like, even back then, I was really enjoyed my cooked meals, me bacon and so on. So even though I was ultra lightweight backpacking then, I still found ways where I could roast foods.
So I guess that's like a really interesting question. I mean, what's the, how has your gear changed over 40 years, really? I mean, obviously we like doing camping in a bit more comfort as we get older, for sure.
Yeah.
So you're not really prepared to just sleep on the ground anymore.
No.
But I mean, what sort of vehicle were you using back in those days? As obviously you've got the Pajero now. Have you noticed, has the island changed much? Is it harder to drive around now, or pretty much the same?
Oh, if anything, it's probably easier, because it's definitely easier to find your way around there. You don't tend to get lost anymore, like I used to when there was no marked tracks. You basically look at the sun or look at a compass. We had no GPSs then.
Yeah.
So you look at the compass, you look at the sun, oh yeah, okay. So if I head east, eventually I'll come to a beach. So you just drive and look for a track, and as long as it's going east, you end up there. and you always would find a track. They just had tracks everywhere. So that's and a lot of the tracks were, for example, Nagala Rocks. Nagala Rocks is a lot easier now than what it used to be. That first section, where it gets its name Nagala Rocks, and I think it got that Nagala Rocks because of the entrance you used to go. You know that really black section that's always got water in it, just at the start you drive through and you got that water there? That used to be all rocky outcrop. There's like that real black rock there through there, and you had to traverse over that. Not many people could actually get through there. And most of the time, in regards to four drive, on the farms we had Toyotas. So mainly Hiluxes. We use Hiluxes. So the first trips I went over there, it's funny now, it brings back some memory. I had this old blue Toyota Hilux. So it was a 1-tonner, and it had the springs to carry 1 ton, actually more than 1 ton, because it was a farm ute, and we carried a lot of weight on there. So it had the strong wing springs, which means if you got nothing on the back, you just bounce over everything. And it had the softest seat. It had these really soft bucket seats. And when you're driving along and you come to a bump, you got to go like this so you don't knock out when you hit the roof, because you'd fly off the chair. The only thing that keep you in the vehicle is the seatbelt. You'd fly up and down, you go boom, boom, and literally the top of the car would hit, and you just hold on for almighty. For me, it was a lot easier. I felt sorry for the passengers because they didn't have much to hold on to.
Yeah.
I used to hold the steering wheel, and those things, it was a shocker. It was a shocker. But it did the job. It got me through there, no problems. And it did really well. I had no problems. It was really light vehicle. It only had the 2 seats, really, so the maximum was only 2 that ever went over there. My brother used to go with me. I had a couple of mates that were in the army. Whenever they weren't in the army, they used to always go with me as well. And so they were always with me over there. And in fact, every November, we always did a big trip every November. And for some strange reason, I don't know why, it was always seemed to nearly all the time, 90% of the time over the many years, we seemed to always going back to the same place. It was either Fraser Island or at the border, around the border ranges through the Tweed Valley area, northern New South Wales, just the inland through there. We used to love it through there. Not so much O'Reilly's. O'Reilly's, we go up there for like a day trip or something, or go up there for a meal. But we'd go in the border ranges up the upper top there. And we used to do a lot of bushwalking back then, and they had some awesome walks there now, which are unfortunately are closed, and probably just as well they are closed, because they were very dangerous walks. Basically walking on a little ledge about so wide, with about 2,000 foot drop right down. So you just had to be really careful. And there was a place called the Pinnacles, I remember, and it's still there to this day, but it's not like it used to be. You used to be able to walk out to this little pinnacle area, like it'll go down like this, and you come out this little area, this little hill, very small areas, just drops right down on either side, and you've got this view all the way around, almost 360-degree view of the Tweed Valley. And it was awesome, and we just loved that walk. We used to do that all the time. And then I think, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, people had fallen off it, and obviously it didn't end well for them, as you can imagine.
Like I mean, it's just one of those things that everything is so, safety conscious nowadays, right? I guess, councils get sued and things like that. So, but the world was a different place back then as well, right? I mean, not really camping related, but I remember as a kid, we used to play on building sites for fun. As soon as the builders went home, there was nothing more fun than hanging off the scaffolding and, climbing up piles of materials. Nowadays, the kids don't know themselves nowadays, I guess.
Yeah, I know. They've got no idea. Oh, you should have seen me when I was a kid.
I can imagine being on a farm. You had plenty of very cool and very dangerous things to play with.
Yeah, there was a lot of danger. Buggy. We had this buggy on the farm, and oh boy, did I used to thrash the crap out of that, eh? We used to have some nearby farmers' properties, or cattle farmers, and they allowed me to drive through there. And I remember a few times of driving through there, and it came up to this wet cattle patch of poo, and then you just, because it's just an open buggy, and just fly through and just covered in cow shit.
All part of the fun. And people would say it's lucky, right? And that brings me on to my next question for you. Now, you seem to have managed to snag most people that like camping's dream job, and you are now the official reviewer and tester for Drifter Stockton. So I think you did fall in shit and come up smelling of roses with that job, Phil. How are you enjoying it so far? What's the highlights of being part of the Drifter crew?
The highlight, mate, is that I sit here at home sometimes each day, and I just don't know what will turn up. Like this afternoon, knock knock, beep beep, knock knock on the door, and there was another package from Drifter Stockton, and it was a new table, the new wooden table, and I thought, so I put it together, and I've used it straight away already. It is awesome. So not only you can use this for camping, but I was surprised just how compact it is. It's got a little bit of weight, so because it's timber, it's a timber table, and it's a kind of decent size. But I was amazed how compact it is. It's really compact, which is really good. But it's really nice. And then apparently you can also, I've got the Drifter Stockton barbecue box as well, which is made by Uniflame in Japan. Okay, so it's not made in China. So this is actually made by Uniflame in Japan, and it's designed to sit inside there as well. So awesome. you can cook in this table as well. So I'll be putting that to the test, and no doubt I'll do some videos and some cooking videos on that eventually as well. And I'll also be taking some photos, so it will go up on the website. So I'll have to do that before the weekend, because I'm heading off out of town this weekend to visit family down Gold Coast, and to pick up something else, something new that I mentioned briefly before, that will make my camping a lot easier as well. And I mean, going back, so I want to talk a bit about four-wheel drives that I've owned over the years too. Going back, after we had that Toyota, I went and bought a 1977 Range Rover, V8, the whole works. And I tell you what, that is by far, even though it's a 1977, I wish I still had it to this day, I'd say that was by far the best four-wheel drive I've ever owned. And I don't think I'll ever get anything that'll come close to that thing, because the places I used to be able to go with that was just unbelievable. The wheel travel on that, and not just that, it had like it's air actuator. There's this button. I can remember there was this button that you pull up this lever, and it locks all the four wheels. So you'd be driving along, and if one, you get one wheel up and it starts spinning, and you lose the power on the other one. And then I used to go to places, there's no way, they're like a diff lock, and there's no way you'd get through if you didn't have that. And I used to just hit this button and bang, it just locked all four wheels up and just drive right through. And it's amazing the difference it made. So I've done a lot of adventurous stuff with that Range Rover. And I owned that for many, many years. And the only reason I ever sold this is the only reason, there was two reasons I sold it. I sold it because the Rego was absolutely ridiculously expensive, because it was a V8. And the fuel. I'd take it to Fraser Island, you could see the fuel gauge actually move. That thing up with fuel like you wouldn't believe. But when I bought it, fuel was like 60, 70 cents a litre. Even then it was a big hit in your pocket because of the way that thing goes through fuel. But it just got to the stage, man, I can't afford to run this anymore, so I sold it. And of all things, I went to like a Vitara, and that was, I actually now tell a lie. I bought a Toyota Blizzard. Have you ever heard of a Toyota Blizzard?
No.
Toyota actually, back in, I think it was about 1983, for a couple of years, they bought the Daihatsu four-wheel drive body. You know those really short wheel base ones?
Yep.
Two doors of Daihatsus, but they were really high.
Yeah.
Toyota actually bought them, and they whacked a Hilux diesel in it. So they did that for 2 years, and it's called a Toyota Blizzard. So I had that for about 3-4 years. And mate, that thing was unbelievable where it could go. You give it a steep hill and it'll just drive right up. Because it was such a short wheel base, I used to drive up hills, because I used to be in the four-wheel drive club back then, and I used to just drive up for hills where the other Toyotas and Nissans and so on couldn't drive up them, so they couldn't believe it. But it was really top heavy, so if you ever got it this sideways like this, and I don't know how that thing, I never tipped it over. I've got no idea how. I got a real big scare one day, and we were coming down this really steep drive when I was with the club, and the whole thing just flipped up like that, and it's literally going nose down, and just the two front wheels was on the ground, the back wheels were right up in the air just going down, and that's how that thing didn't flip down. That was a real eye-opener for me. When I saw that happen, then I thought, no, this is too rough. I eased back then on the four drive, and then I've kind of eased back since ever then. So I don't do anything really rough like that anymore. I learned a lesson then. You've got to have the vehicle that's capable of doing it. It's easier nowadays with some of the vehicles that are coming out. So, and now I've got the, then I had a Vitara. That was a good vehicle. I actually owned that for about 10, 12 years. And now I've got the Pajero. Pajero, a lot more comfort. It's great for touring. I don't know. I wouldn't take it to some of the places where I used to go. Although I've done YouTube video, I've searched YouTube videos on the Pajero, and I've seen some of the places they can go, and it's quite amazing. And in fact, recently when I was over at Fraser Island, I went on one of the old tracks that I used to know about, and it was really rough, and it was actually a good eye-opener to see how well the Pajero actually did, because it started all this technology, you got anti-tracking and all that. And I got to see all that work, and it was quite impressive how well it did work. So it impressed me how it got through that track as well as it did. But there's no wheel travel. There's nothing. It's like it's a rigid box. So even though it's not rigid, it's still a nice, smooth ride. But you look, the thing's wheel standing everywhere all the time. You go to little wheel stands, So
I've had a couple of Pajeros, and back in the UK, I had the short wheelbase 2-door one,
Yeah.
The turbo diesel. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
That was an awesome car. Yeah, and it had the 3-stage suspension button in it, so you could, low or soft, medium, and hard, and things like that. But really good car. And then when I come to Australia, I went out and I got myself a Land Cruiser 200, and I was too scared to take it on any tracks because it was just too nice. And you spend a lot of money on a car like that, and the last thing you want to do is smash it up. Unfortunately, I can't afford to. I can afford to own one. I can't afford to rebuild it every month and fix all the damage. So I went out and bought myself a Pajero, and really capable. Loved it. Had some great fun with that. But I'm back in the same position now because I've sold the Pajero, and I've got a Ford Raptor, the Ranger Raptor, which is an awesome car. But too nice to break, so I can't do any tracks anymore.
Well, I think my nephew's got one of those, and he won't take it on the dirt road, let alone 4 driving. I tried to talk him into taking it to Fraser, and there's no chance. I mean, that thing looks like he's had it for a couple of years now. That thing looks like it hasn't even left the showroom.
Yeah. Ashamedly, mine's the same. It tows the dot trailer, but it doesn't. We were away last week, and we went for a field, and we got some cow shit up the side of it, and I was disappointed. So.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, no, that'll be him. He'll go home and spend the next half a day cleaning this little spot. Not me brother, he's like that. His car's just immaculate. I mean, I look after my cars. I keep them clean too. But if I get a scratch on the side, I don't care. In fact, I used to, when I had the Range Rover and the Tara, I used to paint them myself. After every so often, I'd send them back and give them a coat of paint. Yeah. They always look good because they've changed colours over the years. The Vitara used to be a dark green colour, which is the worst colour you could have up in Queensland. It was like a big sauna inside. So I stripped it all bare. I pulled it all apart one year and stripped the whole thing and just repainted it all white. So, and I didn't use any fancy paints. I used a good quality deluxe paint, but I didn't use any 2-pack or anything. So that way, if it did get scratched, I'd just sand it back and just sprayed it back and put a clear over the top. So it's, to me, I never really worried too much about it. And it always looked immaculate. And when I sold it, I got pretty good money for it, to be honest, more than I thought I would, just because it looked like it was, it was not long before I sold it. I actually gave it a refresher coat of the paint. And I used to do that with the Range Rover as well. But it's a shame, unfortunately, of all the years I've owned that Range Rover, I hardly ever took a photo of it. I found one photo recently. I was driving through Wynyard Creek with water, but I've been to places that thing where the water was coming up the windscreen. Because I don't know if you've seen these 1977 Range Rovers. They're a big vehicle. They're like a huge truck, and they're really high. And that gives you an idea because they had the twin Strombergs. And in fact, it's similar. I don't know if you follow Andrew St. Pierre White.
I see he's rebuilding one now. Yeah,
he's bought that white 1976. And that's practically a spitting image of the one that I owned. The inside looks exactly the same, the whole works. And that thing I drove it all over the country, basically in Australia years ago. I used to drive from Bundy Hill all the way to Sydney and back, and almost in a day, going through the back way and so on. So it was great. It was a great touring vehicle as well, although it only had 4 speed. So on the highway, it used to cost quite a fair bit. But like I said, back those days, most of the time when I had it, fuel was like 65 cents a litre. And then when it started climbing up or over $1.20 on that's all you really notice in the pocket. And then main roads just started hitting you so bad. I don't know how much a V8 is now to register on the road, but back then, years ago, it was like $800-900 the last time I had it registered for a year on the road, and that was a lot of money back then. So Yeah, so now what I've got now, the Pajero, that's more of a touring vehicle for me now. I'd love to still have that Range Rover and then go and join some of these boys on their big trips and these ridiculous big hills going up and down, because I knew that thing would have handled it no problems at all. I'd love to be able to do that again, but I had me fun back then. I wouldn't think me Pajero like that. I don't think it'll. Well, I don't know. It might surprise me. It may surprise me. I just think that lack of wheel travel, I think is a big issue. I mean, you can see Kaido from Drifter, how much he's spending on his Hilux just so he can get that wheel travel. Because you get those wheels on the ground, there's a big difference there, you know, it's a big difference. If the wheel's in the air, you're not going to go nowhere.
Kaito's Hilux is...
You want
Kaido's Hilux is looking next level now, right? Some of the stuff he's doing to that is...
That Hilux awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, really cool, really cool. Again, I'd be too scared to break it, but Kaito's, he's a braver man than me, that's for sure.
I haven't watched any of his latest videos on the 24/7 4x7 whatever that channel is, boys, yet to see his Hilux in action, but I got to sit down and get on YouTube and check it out because I want to see how it performs. I reckon
it's a beast, absolute beast.
I'll probably keep up with can't think.
Shauno,
Shauno. I reckon it'll probably keep up with Shauno's Dirty 30. Does he call it something like that? Yeah, they're funny.
It's very good. It's very capable.
Graham, I met Shauno and Graham about a year and a half ago, and as they are on TV is how they are in real life.
I think that's what makes them so appealing, right? They're just, you know, a couple of good blokes.
Yeah, no, they're cool. Eh? I met them at the 4Drive Super Show down there 1 year, and I had a yarn with them for a while, and we spoke about 4 drives and all that, and camping and all that. So I had a good chat there, and they were really nice. And it's just when they were starting to transition to their own branding, their own channel. And I remember Graham actually asked me, and he told me what they were doing, and he asked me, "What do you think?" And I think it's a brilliant idea. I said, "I reckon that's great."
So talking of branding, I've noticed a bit of a rebrand on your channel. New name, 4x4 Touring and Setup, and nice new logo. So just to finish up, Phil, what are we going to see on the channel? Any new stuff? Any new content?
Yeah, I'm going. Well, you know, of late, I decided to, when I started taking some of the videos and that for Drifter, the paid work, I kind of had a choice whether to start up a new channel and put all the paid work on it, or continue on with my channel. So I thought I'll leave it on my channel and see what sort of reply, see what it's like. And it was good. So there's no problem. I mean, certainly where it helped me was it helped to increase my subscribers. I was getting quite a few subscribers on there. But then don't want my personal channel to come across like it's a paid advertisement channel. Because I've had quite a few comments of late where people were saying that. And some of the numbers has dropped down this month. Because for the last 5-6 months, I didn't take my YouTube channel serious until about 5-6 months. In fact, back then, I kind of said to myself, since 2008 till about 6-7 months ago, I had 500 subscribers, and I thought to myself, well, I love 4-driving, I love photography, and I got pretty good gear because I used to be a professional photographer, and I thought, why not try to put some of that skills and start up this YouTube channel and lead towards the 4-driving and that. And then I thought, trouble is, I looked around, a lot of successful ones were all these, channels where they're going on these really big expeditions and and so on. And I thought, well, I don't really want to do that anymore. I don't really have the vehicle to do that. I don't have a winch or anything. Because you look at my Pajero on the outside, looks stock standard, but if you look on the inside, it's totally different. There's nothing much that's standard on the inside of that thing, apart from a big, on the outside, apart from a big box on the top there, which is the rooftop tent, which is going to get onto that shortly, actually, in regards to kind of what I'm heading away down Gold Coast is something to do with the rooftop tent. So we haven't mentioned that yet. So, yeah, I mean, what we were talking about again, I've got a brain fade.
No, so we were just saying about just really, you know, what you think will be new coming to the channel. I mean, obviously, I think, I think we could, let's talk about the tent, because obviously you have, that's going to be a big part of what features lately. You've taken the iCamper off, and obviously you're going with the Drifter Stockton Wildlands tent. And have you got the 1.2 or the 1.4 on your car?
Yes. So I've the iCamper, excellent tent, humongous, big. If you want something with lots of room that packs up fairly reasonably small for what it is, the iCamper is brilliant. Quick to set up. But the mattress in them are not very comfy at all. They're like that. For some people, it's fine. If you're younger guys and you've got a good back and it's not straight and all that, you'll probably find it fine. It'll be perfect. But then for me, I've got to use X-Peds, and because of the size, I've got to use 2. And you've got to, when you set it up, it's quick to set up, but then you've got to add all your beds. You got to make your bed up. And man, I hate making my bed even at home. So that's the last thing I want to do when I go camping is make a bed. Every time I pack the thing up, I want to go for a drive somewhere, I've got to make a bed. I come back, I've got to make a bed up. And no, I don't do that at home. I don't just throw the sheets on my bed and just, that's it. The only time I make it up is when it's washing day.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you're not alone there, mate.
Yeah, and then Luke sent me up now that Drifter Stockton Wildlands tent, that's a loaner, so that's not mine. I didn't buy that. So Luke sent that. I went down the Gold Coast passing through there, and he says, you know, do you want to have a go at this? You know, see what you think, give it a go, get some photos, videos, and so on of it. So that's what I've been doing, and it's been great. Got a lot of benefits into that as well. I mean, it's got very low, so I was certainly able to get into a lot more undercover car parks than what I did when I had the iCamper. It's a lot more lightweight, so you don't notice it on the top as well, which is an important thing now, particularly of late with the half-weight majority of vehicles. So when you go forward drive and it's half the weight you got to put on, like Tyler noticed when he went over to Fraser Island and his whole roof fell off. Ronnie Dale too didn't realise this as well. It's something I've always been aware of. So it's something I've always been very careful with as well.
Yeah.
And definitely, I mean, I've seen roof racks where they're pop riveted on that. And in fact, I had it on me Pajero, not Pajero, the Vitara, the roof racks on it. It had the Rhino rack and it was pop riveted in place. So I never had much weight on there. It just had like a couple of Rhino bars on the top. And I think it's very rare I ever had anything on top there. I don't think I hardly ever. I think at one stage I did put a solar panel up on there, about 25 kilos, if I recall right, just before I sold it. And I think that's all really ever used it for. So, I mean, I was aware back then, you look at it, pop rivets, you know, they're not designed for that kind of thing. So, yeah, I was kind of surprised when I saw that people were actually that they were installing these rooftop tents on these roof bars and roof racks that are prop riveted to your roof. I thought, wow, okay. Yeah, so, you know, that should have never really been allowed. I mean, one thing of the Pajero, I'm kind of lucky with this particular model Pajero I've got here. It's kind of in a way it's bolted to the rooftop. There's no pop rivets or anything. It's got these 6 mounting points on it, and they're like this big hook. So if you find the right, and unfortunately ProRack are the only ones that makes the bars that are compatible with that, and then it just bolts onto the hook. So it's hooked as part of the frame of that vehicle. So it's quite a strong, and for that reason, it's actually got a dynamic, that's what it's called in it, dynamic weight rating of 110 kilos, 110 kilos on that Pajero. Which is good, which allows me to get away with the iCamper, and as long as I take it easy and don't do anything extreme, I've never had any problems, but I've always been careful. Although I've never ever taken it to Fraser Island. I haven't been back to Fraser Island for just over a year and a half now, and it's just probably about a week after I went to Fraser's when I got the iCamper. That was the first time I got the rooftop tent. So I got rid of my Oz tent, because I used to own the Oz tent. And I got rid of that because it's too heavy. And then when I got the Pajero, it's a lot higher than the Vitara. I never had any problems getting it up onto the roof of Vitara, but Pajero, I struggled to get it up there. So I sold it and got onto the rooftop tent. So the Drifter Stockton Wildlands, I'm basically finished with that. So I'm actually bringing it back to the store on Sunday. So it's probably going to be up for sale. I don't know what they're going to do with it. It's hardly ever been used. I haven't done anything. It's got no scratches on it. I've only slept in it for 4 nights in the time that I've had it. So I haven't installed, I haven't screwed anything on it. I've got all the optional accessories and everything for it, so it's just brand new. It's the latest one. It's just off the ship just before I got it, because I know they're very popular and they're a bit hard to get. A few people are waiting for them, so there could be one. Give Rob a call on Monday. Or it's going back there on Sunday. As long as it doesn't rain and there's roads are flooded, you never know. They've been copying a fair bit of rain down there. And then I'm going to head down and I'm going to pick up something that will set up in about 20 seconds. I'll push a button. I basically get out of the vehicle and I push a button, boom, and guess what? No beds to make. All set up. It's got enough room in there that it'll close with the bed set up. It's got a high density 10 centimeter mattress, and I'm hopeful, I'm praying that that's going to be good for my back. If not, I can always go to, if not, there's plenty of room inside this thing that I can go get a thin mattress chopper at, I don't know, those mattress places where you can't even think what they're called. Clark Rubber is what they're called.
Yep.
Clark Rubber. Go there, get a mattress topper, sit on the top, and I'm sure it'll close no problems. Made in South Africa, and it's from a company called Bundutech, and it's a Bundu top. Yes. So a lot of people would have heard of them. So I'm going down. I've already put a deposit on it. I'm going down and picking up that because I'm just past the stage of going to a campsite and spending long time setting up camp. And also because now that I've got a rooftop tent on the vehicle, I can't tell you how many times I wanted to go for a drive somewhere, but I just couldn't feel bothered to pack everything. I just look at the tent and I think, oh gosh, I've got to fold that up. I've got 2 X beds I've got to fold up. I've got sleeping bag I've got to fold up. Where am I going to store all that? Then I've got to come back and I've got to set it all up again. And I'm thinking, nah, and I just stayed at camp. Well, now I just, I've got the Drifter Hexatarp. So I set that up. I'll back up to that. When I'm ready to go to bed, push a button, 20 seconds, climb up, go to sleep. And I'll go buy special sheets and a doona, and I'll set it up in there, and I'll just leave it set up all the time with all the pillows. So just grab a few gear I need and just drive off and don't ever have to worry. And that's why I went for it. I mean, it's a lot bigger, although it's kind of similar to the iCamper as well, because it's 30 centimeters high. the iCamper's 30 centimeters high, but that didn't include the mounting, the bracket, the little bar that sits on the bottom there. So you add like an extra inch or so onto that. But this one includes all that. So anything, it's actually going to be lower than the iCamper. It's about the same weight as the iCamper. Certainly, it's a fair bit heavier than the, and a lot higher than the Wildlands rooftop tent. But the thing is, just the quick setup and not having to worry about self-inflating mattresses and all this and that. You know, after doing that for like a year and a half, and it's just, just over it. So I just want something easy, and I've been considering it for quite some time. So I thought, if I can sell my iCamper for what I want to, you know, for what I think it's worth at the time, considering that you cannot get them now. If you want to get one, you basically got a waiting list of some 6-7 months, I believe. Could even be longer. I had a feeling I should be able to sell it, no problems at all. And I did. I ended up selling it. I mean, I got a couple of ridiculous lowball offers that I didn't even reply to. I couldn't believe it.
You're always going to get that.
Oh, yeah, I expected it. So, and I just didn't reply to him. And then one day, a guy just rings up and didn't ring up, sent me a message, and he said, I'll just take it. Hardly any questions. Yeah. That's
Happy
great.
Days.
I wanted for it. So, shoot down on Sunday. Yep.
That's been really interesting, though, Phil, because we're, you know, our biggest sort of debate in our house at the moment is we're looking to swap out on our drifter trailer, on our dock, we're looking to swap over the Hannibal tent, which has been a great tent. We love it. It's massive. You know, it's 2 meters plus by 2 meters plus. It's a huge tent. It's just a bit too much work for me to put up. I can't really do it on my own. If Andy, the wife, comes with me, then we're okay setting it up together. But it's like you say, as we get older, it's a bit of a struggle. So I've just picked up an Oz tent actually as a option for when I go camping on my own, because I can still chuck it on the trailer nice and easy and set it up without, you know, fairly quickly, right? I mean, 30-second tent plus 2 hours to do the pegs. By
the time you put the pegs and ropes out, there's no 30 seconds anymore. And you want to use all the peg off points too, because I tell you what, mate, if you set them up properly, use all the pegs and use all the guy lines and set them up on the correct angle, those things will survive a storm, and a major storm. Because I know, because I've been through some of those horrendous storms, and it just sat there. Ask Kaido, ask Rob. I was camping up at the Gloucester factory a couple of years ago, actually, at the famous campsite number 1, which is now a horse stable, I believe. It's and we had this wild storm that came through. Okay, so it was ripping off roofs of houses. It was knocking down trees and the whole works. And it came from nowhere. It just came so quick. And I had no time to put the Oz tent down. We just had to race in our vehicles and just head for whatever shed that we could find, whatever open door we could find, and just sat there. So I expected the Oz tent to not have survived that. I was expecting, you know, bent bars and everything, but I couldn't believe it. I mean, eventually Kaido came around and find where I was to make sure I was fine. I was fine because I was in the I managed to get park under where they've near the Dot factory over there, that section out there. And I managed to park under there, and I was shielded from the wind. But, geez, that was a crazy storm. And that day was ridiculous. I remember that day. It was like 40-plus degrees Celsius. It was a steaming hot day. It was ridiculous, and it was just broken with this horrendous storm. It was like a cyclone that we got up here. I don't know how strong the winds were, and it lasted for a while. And I asked him, what's the Oz tent like? And he said, I couldn't believe it. He said, it just sat there and it's still up. Oh, you kidding? He said, no. And so I went over and had a look. It was like nothing happened. None of the poles, nothing was bent, hey? So it's incredible. But you just got to get those poles out, particularly those ones on the side. You know those ones on the side? It's in the pocket. A lot of people I notice don't put them out. But if you put them out, and from my experience, if you put them out and don't put them out straight, don't put them out straight out, have them forward a bit. You know what I mean? So
I know what you mean.
You're looking at the front of the tent, okay? So have them out straight and then bring them forward about 2 feet and then peg them out there. And have them reasonably straight. And you'll find... I think
what that does, what you're going to do is you're going to start forming triangles, aren't you, if you do that? And obviously that's the strongest shape. So, you know, you get that sort of pattern repeated around the tent, and that's going to give you that rigidity. Yeah, good advice, Phil. So I mean, I think I will try the Oz tent for a little while, and I think it's always great to have one anyway in case people come with us. But then I'm considering the Wildlands, the bigger one, to put on top of the Dot just for weekend camps. I think that might be a good choice, because I do really like that Bundu Tech, and they do a king size one as well, which would go great on the Dot. But I think it's around $8,000, so I'm not quite feeling rich enough to afford that. I wanted
the king size, and I looked at it and I thought, and I looked at me Pajero and I thought, I don't know, I think it'll be too big, and it's heavier. It's not though heavier, because it'll support it, no problems at all. But then the other night I was searching around on the internet, and I thought I'd do a check Bundu top on a Pajero, and of all things, I found a Pajero with the king size on the top. And it looked a bit ridiculous, it was just like this big hanging right over the side. So, I mean, it would have been nice. I would love the extra room, but I think it's a little bit too big.
I'm certainly looking forward to it, because it's for me, there's going to be a new tent going on there soon, whether it's a Wildlands or whether I can stretch to something that's kind of equal to like a Drifter walk up. That would have been ideal for us, but they don't make them anymore, so we're going to have to look for alternatives. Hey Phil, just want to say massive thank you for taking the time to talk to us tonight. I've taken almost an hour of your time.
Is that all an hour? I thought it was longer. So no, that's fine. That's
good. keep doing what you're doing, mate. Your fans really enjoy it. I think I speak for us when I say that, and you're definitely one of the nicest blokes in the community, and good role model. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't wait till we get out and start getting into these fans events and so on, and meeting.
Yeah.
Actually, for you guys, Drifter fans and that are watching, I'm planning on a trip down to Gloucester Way very soon. So I'm going to drive down there, and I'm going to go to Gloucester, and I'll probably do some filming around the factory there and interview some of the workers. Also, probably we'll end up spending a day at Heatherbrae. I think that's how you pronounce it, store. And Gosford store as well. And I wouldn't mind heading up to Barrington Tops camping. So if there's anyone who's interested in joining me, I'll let you know closer when I pick a date when I'm heading down there. But yeah, I wouldn't mind heading up to Barrington Tops. So maybe it's a few of us head up there.
Mate, I'll take the Dot. I'm in. Just let me know the date.
I reckon it'll be a great fun. Probably a couple of nights up there. I've never been up to the Barrington Tops. I got really close. I've actually did head up there one day, but we had to turn back because of an emergency. So I never made it up the top. And I've been to Camp Cobart for the Drifter fans event and so on, and how close we were there, but I just didn't get up there. So yeah, that's one place I've always wanted to go check out is Barrington Tops. So I'm pretty keen to go up there, particularly if it's snowing. I've never seen snow in my life, but it'll be way too early in the season. But 1 year, I don't know if it'll be this year. 1 year when it's the middle of the snow season, I'm just going to jump in my 4-drive and head down there and go up there, and it'll be an awesome place to be able to see snow for the first time.
Definitely. Phil, you're a bit of a legend. Thanks for joining in for a chat, and we look forward to catching you on YouTube soon. Cheers, mate.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
It was great. Great. Excellent. Good on you. Cheers. See you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.